My daughter and son-in-law brought a realtor to my apartment without warning. It's worth $1 million, Dad. Time to sell, my son-in-law said calmly. My daughter stood beside him, silent, her hands shaking. I didn't argue. I took the realtor's card, closed the door, and went straight to a lawyer. Pull the property record now, I said. He typed, then froze. Daniel, there's a lock on your home. Owner alert, transfer restriction, identity verification required. He looked up at me. Someone attempted to take control of your property 3 days ago. What we uncovered in those documents. Thanks for being here. Before this story continues, subscribe and ring the bell for more. Comment below where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. Some details are fictionalized for storytelling, but the message is absolutely real. Let's begin. The morning light came through the window exactly the way Elaine always said it would. I sat at the small desk she picked out 3 years ago, letting the warmth settle on my neck. Outside, Boston slowly came alive under a pale March sky. My wife had stood right there once, her hand resting on my shoulder, and said, "This is the place, Daniel. Do you see it?" The light. I saw it every morning after she passed. The notebook in front of me held half a poem about memory and grief, about shadows that never truly fade. 71 years had taught me many things, but not how to miss her any less. The doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Saturdays were quiet in this building. Most residents left for errands or family visits. I'd grown to appreciate the silence. It gave me room to think, to write, to remember Elaine without interruption. The doorbell rang again, sharper this time. I closed the notebook and crossed the living room Elaine had arranged with such care. When I opened the door, 5 people stood in the hallway. Megan Foster, a realtor I'd seen around the building, stood front and center with a polished smile. Behind her were 2 strangers in their early 40s, dressed well, hopeful. The man held a folder. The woman clutched a designer handbag. And behind them stood my son-in-law, Ryan Cole, and my daughter, Emily. Emily wouldn't meet my eyes. "Mr. Harris," Megan said brightly. "Perfect timing. We're just showing the unit." I blinked. "Showing the unit?" "Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson are very interested. Your son-in-law arranged the viewing." The world shifted. I looked past Megan, past the Thompsons, and locked eyes with Ryan. He smiled, the smile of a man who believed the outcome was already decided. "Daniel," Ryan said, stepping forward, "we need to talk. There's been a development." "A development?" I repeated. Emily shifted behind him, twisting her fingers together. She still wouldn't look at me. Her face was pale, her jaw tight. "Perhaps we could step inside," Megan suggested, already moving. I didn't move. No one is coming in until someone explains what's happening. The Thompsons exchanged a look. Megan's smile faltered. Ryan sighed. "Dad, we're trying to help. The market is strong right now. This apartment," I said quietly, "is not for sale." "That's what we need to discuss," Ryan replied, glancing at Emily as if waiting for her support. She stayed silent, staring somewhere past my shoulder. I looked at her, really looked, and understood. Guilt, not confusion, not shock. Guilt. She knew. She knew they were coming. She knew Ryan had set this up, and she'd said nothing. "Emily," I said softly. She flinched. Megan cleared her throat. "Mr. Harris, everyone out," I said. Silence. "Excuse me?" Megan asked, her smile gone. "All of you, leave." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Daniel, you're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking perfectly clearly," I said. "Go." The Thompsons were already retreating toward the elevator. Megan hesitated, looking between Ryan and me, then followed them. But I couldn't stop watching Emily, my daughter, my only child. The woman who stood beside me at Elaine's funeral and held my hand. She still wouldn't meet my eyes. Standing in the doorway of the home Elaine chose, I realized something that made my chest tighten. This wasn't just Ryan's idea. Emily had been part of it from the start. Ryan didn't move. "Daniel," he said, his voice layered with that careful patience people use on elders they think are confused. "I know you're upset, but we need to talk about transitioning you to a more appropriate living situation." Transitioning. Like I was an inconvenience. This place is too much for you, he continued, stepping closer despite my clear order. Living alone at your age, maintaining a place this size, it's not sustainable. I looked at Emily, hoping she'd stop this. She stood behind him, arms wrapped around herself. Dad, she said finally, her voice thin and unsteady, you're alone here. You could live with us. Noah would love having his grandfather close. Noah, 8 years old, gap-toothed, obsessed with dinosaurs. Ryan knew exactly how deeply I loved that boy. Hearing his name used this way made something cold settle in my chest. I'm not leaving, I said. Ryan sighed and glanced back toward Megan and the Thompsons waiting near the elevator. This property is worth over $1 million, Daniel. We're talking about your future, your security. My security? I repeated, studying him. This was Ryan at his most dangerous, calm, measured, wrapping control in concern. I'd seen it before when he framed his decisions as what was best for Emily. I hadn't called it what it was then. I would now. We've spoken to an attorney, Ryan said. Everything goes smoothly if you cooperate. Cooperate hung in the air like a warning. I turned back toward Megan. Ms. Foster, may I have your card? She blinked. My card? Yes. I took it and slid it carefully into my pocket. A witness, Megan Foster, the realtor who brought buyers into my home without my consent. She would remember this. Thank you, I said, then faced the Thompsons. I apologize for the confusion. This property is not for sale. It never was. Mr. Thompson cleared his throat. We were told, I know what you were told, I said evenly. But I'm the owner. This home is not available. They exchanged a look and walked toward the elevator. Sensible people. They recognized a family war. Ryan's jaw tightened. You're making this harder than it needs to be. No, I said, exactly as hard as it should be. We stood there, Ryan in the hallway, me in the doorway, guarding my home. Emily caught between us, the way she'd been for years without my realizing it. Megan shifted, her professional smile gone. Fine, Ryan said. We'll talk later. He turned to Megan. Show them the layout. He'll come around. They walked off, Ryan's hand firm on Megan's elbow, guiding her like he already owned the place. Just before the corner, he leaned in and whispered, He'll sign. My wife will make sure of it. Emily flinched. Just enough. I watched her follow him, shoulders tight, steps cautious. She didn't look back. I closed the door. Silence settled in. Elaine's carefully chosen furniture surrounded me, the morning light falling exactly the way she'd wanted. My daughter was afraid, not of me, but of him. I stood there longer, listening to the building breathe, the low hum of the city below. The apartment felt smaller, not because of age, but because of threat. Whatever paperwork they were planning, whatever pressure would come next, I understood one thing with absolute clarity. This was no longer about property. It was about protecting my child, and I would not fail her again, not ever. I needed air. A few minutes later, I stepped into the hallway. The space felt too tight, Elaine's absence too loud. I needed to think. Daniel. Margaret Lewis stood in the doorway of apartment 41A, 3 doors down. She was 73, a retired schoolteacher who'd lived here longer than I had. Elaine had liked her. They'd shared coffee, traded stories about books and grandchildren. I saw what happened, Margaret said quietly. I heard it too. I nodded. She stepped closer, pulling her cardigan tighter. I know exactly what I just witnessed. I've seen this before. Seen what? I asked. 5 years ago, my daughter tried the same thing, Margaret said. Brought a realtor to my door. Said I needed to downsize. That I'd be happier in a facility. Said it was for my own good. The words landed hard. For your own good. Ryan had used almost the same phrasing. What happened? I asked. I fought, Margaret said simply. Got a lawyer. Documented everything. My daughter had already filed for guardianship, claimed I was mentally incompetent. She let out a dry laugh. I was 70, Daniel. Not senile, just convenient to control. My chest tightened. Guardianship? That's the move, she said. They declare you incompetent. Get a judge to approve it. Then they control everything. Sell your home, move you into a facility, manage your assets, all perfectly legal if they convince people you can't make your own decisions. I thought of Ryan's confidence, of Megan showing up with buyers like the sale was settled, of Emily shaking, silent. "But your daughter," Margaret said, her voice softening. She looked terrified. "Did you see that?" "I did." "Then she's not the one driving this," Margaret said gently. "Someone else is pulling the strings." Her eyes stayed kind but firm. "That doesn't change what you need to do. If paperwork's been filed, and I'd bet it has, you need legal help today." "I know someone," I said. "Good," Margaret replied. "Call him now. Don't wait." She paused. "And Daniel, keep track of everyone who was here. Names, times, what was said. That realtor especially. She's a witness." I touched my shirt pocket where Megan's card rested. "Thank you," I said. Margaret squeezed my arm. "Elaine was a good friend. I'm not letting someone take her home from you." I went back inside and picked up the phone. Thomas Reed answered on the third ring. "Daniel Harris, it's been a long time," I said, steadier than I expected. "My son-in-law is trying to take my home. I think he's using my daughter to do it. I need help." There was a pause. Then Thomas's voice shifted. All business. "Tell me everything. Start at the beginning." I glanced at the window, at the morning light Elaine had loved, and began to speak. An hour later, I stood outside Victor Hale's law office in uptown Boston. Thomas had been direct. "Go now." "Ryan mentioned Hale's name," he'd said. "That means something's already been filed." "You need to see what?" The building rose in steel and glass. Hale's firm occupied the 8th floor. I rode the elevator up, hands steady despite the anger tightening in my chest. The receptionist looked up as I entered, young, professional, her practiced smile ready. "Do you have an appointment?" "I'm Daniel Harris," I said evenly. "I'm the property owner in a matter Mr. Hale is handling. I don't need an appointment." Her smile faltered. "I'll check." Before she could turn, a door opened behind her. Victor Hale stepped out, mid-50s, expensive suit, the kind of lawyer who smoothed problems away for people who could afford discretion. "Mr. Harris," he said carefully, "your son-in-law indicated you'd agreed." "I haven't agreed to anything," I cut in. "I want every document with my name on it." His jaw tightened. He gestured toward his office. "Come in." Dark wood, diplomas on the wall, a city skyline beyond the glass. He pulled a file from his desk drawer. "Before you show me that," I said, "print the current property record, today's date." Hale paused. "The property record." "The official county record," I said. "I want to see what's on file right now." He turned to his computer. His fingers moved across the keyboard. I watched his face as the screen loaded. His expression changed. "There's a..." He leaned closer. "There's a lock notation." "A lock?" He read from the screen. "Transfer restriction. Owner alert. Third-party instruments will not be processed without identity verification and in-person confirmation from the owner." He looked up. "When did you place this?" "I didn't," I said. "When was it placed?" He clicked again. 3 days ago." 3 days. The same window Margaret had warned me about. The same window Ryan would have filed paperwork. "Who placed it?" I asked. Hale exhaled. "It was triggered automatically. Someone attempted to file transfer documents. The system flagged it and placed a protective hold." "Transfer documents?" I said slowly. "Someone tried to transfer my property." "That appears to be the case," Victor Hale replied, leaning back. For the first time, I saw real concern cross his face, or maybe just the realization that he'd stepped into something far more dangerous than he expected. "What documents did Ryan provide you?" "A power of attorney and a petition." His desk phone rang. We both looked at it. The caller ID showed a local government number with an official extension. Hale picked up slowly. "Victor Hale," he said. I watched his face as he listened. The color drained. "Yes," he said quietly. "He's here now." He hung up and looked at me. His hand was shaking. "That was the recorder's office. They're asking if Daniel Harris is present. They want to speak with you." "About what?" I asked. Hale swallowed. "Fraudulent instruments submitted for filing and a protective investigation that's been opened." The room went still. "Mr. Harris," Hale said, his composure cracking. There may be serious legal issues with the documents your son-in-law submitted. He hesitated. The recorder's office wants me to bring you down there immediately. A few minutes later, the office door opened without a knock. The woman who entered carried herself with quiet authority. Mid-40s. County ID badge clipped to her blazer, a tablet tucked under one arm. She looked like someone who had seen every variation of fraud imaginable. Rebecca Walsh, she said. County Recorder's Office, Fraud Prevention Unit. The owner alert on Mr. Harris's property brought me here. She looked directly at me. You're Daniel Harris. I am. She turned to Hale. You're the attorney who attempted to file the transfer documents. Hale shifted. I was acting on behalf of my client. I believed the documents were legitimate. We'll get to that, Rebecca said. She placed her tablet on the desk and pulled out a camera. Mr. Harris, did you authorize anyone to transfer or sell your property? No. Did you sign any power of attorney documents recently? No. Rebecca nodded. Mr. Hale, I need everything you received from Ryan Cole. Hale opened his file. Rebecca slipped on latex gloves and began photographing each document carefully. The door burst open. Ryan strode in, Emily trailing behind him. My son-in-law's face was flushed. Emily looked pale, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. What's going on? Ryan demanded. Dad, why are you making this so difficult? Rebecca looked up. And you are Ryan Cole. I have power of attorney, Ryan said sharply. You have a forged power of attorney, Rebecca replied flatly. She held up a document. This is supposed to be Daniel Harris's signature. Mr. Harris, is this your signature? I studied the looping letters. They looked nothing like my handwriting. No. Ryan's jaw tightened. The notary verified it. Let's talk about the notary, Rebecca said. She examined the seal under Hale's desk lamp, then pulled out her phone and dialed. She put it on speaker. 2 rings. Hello? Mr. Thomas Keller? Rebecca asked. Yes. This is Rebecca Walsh with the County Recorder's Office. I'm looking at a document bearing your notary seal dated 3 days ago. Can you confirm you notarized a power of attorney for Daniel Harris? A pause. I haven't notarized anything in over a year, the man said. My certification expired last April. Thank you, Rebecca said, and ended the call. Silence flooded the office. She turned to Ryan. The notary seal is expired. The signature is forged. The power of attorney is fraudulent. Then to Hale. You attempted to file these documents this morning. That's when the owner alert triggered. Emily's voice trembled. Ryan, you said the paperwork was legal. Not now, Emily, Ryan snapped. She didn't stop. She stared at the documents, at Rebecca's gloved hands, at the camera. Her face had gone gray. Ryan, she whispered, what did you do? Rebecca's tablet chimed. She glanced down, and her expression hardened. Anger, maybe disgust. She looked up at me. Mr. Harris, there's a second filing from this morning, a petition for guardianship. Someone is attempting to have you declared mentally incompetent? She held my gaze. Do you want me to read what it says? Before I show you what they plan to do to me, type the word protect in the comments so I know you're still here. What comes next will shock you. Fair warning, some elements ahead are dramatized for storytelling, but the core message is true. If you'd rather stop here, now is the moment. Ready? Here we go. Rebecca looked back down at her tablet. Petition for guardianship of Daniel Harris, filed 3 days ago with the county court. Guardianship, I said. Legal control over you and your assets based on alleged mental incapacity, she explained. Claims include dementia, memory loss, inability to manage your affairs. Her tone was clinical, but edged with anger. There's a medical certificate attached, signed by Dr. Samuel Price. Dr. Price hasn't examined me in over 2 years, I said. We're investigating him separately, Rebecca replied. She turned to Ryan. Did you arrange for Dr. Price to evaluate your father-in-law? Ryan said nothing. Emily's voice rose. Ryan, answer her. Did you take Dad to a doctor? Not now, Emily, Ryan snapped. You told me we were helping Dad sell the apartment so he could live with us, Emily said, her voice breaking. You never mentioned guardianship. Shut up, Ryan hissed, his face red, fists clenched. Rebecca tapped her tablet and turned the screen toward us. Cedar Ridge Assisted Living. A room was reserved 6 months ago, paid in full. I stared at the screen. A floor plan, room 3B highlighted in yellow. Memory Care Wing, Rebecca read. Secured unit for residents with advanced dementia. The words struck like blows. Memory care. Secured unit. 6 months paid. Emily's whisper barely made a sound. Memory care, Emily said, her voice breaking. Ryan, you were going to put my father in a nursing home. It's what's best for him, Ryan said sharply. You lied to me, Emily cried. She was shaking now, tears spilling freely. You said he'd have the guest room upstairs. You said Noah could see him every day. Rebecca's eyes stayed on Emily. Mrs. Cole, did you know about Cedar Ridge Assisted Living? No, Emily said, shaking her head violently. I didn't. I thought we were helping him downsize. Ryan said he'd be close to us, close to Noah. She looked at me. Dad, I'm so sorry. I swear I didn't know. I studied my daughter and saw the truth. She'd been used. You really didn't know? I asked quietly. She shook her head, sobbing. If I had, I never would have. She broke down, covering her face. The office door opened. Thomas Reed stepped inside. 62, silver-haired, 2 decades in elder law. He nodded to me, then turned to Rebecca. Ms. Walsh, I've reviewed the filings remotely. His eyes swept the room. Forged power of attorney. Expired notary seal. Fraudulent guardianship petition with a falsified medical certificate. Attempted property transfer. Prepaid memory care placement. He shook his head. They would have succeeded if the property alert hadn't stopped it. He turned to Victor Hale. Counselor, you filed a guardianship petition without notice to the alleged incompetent. You attempted a property transfer using forged documents. That's abuse of process. You're facing disbarment. His voice was calm, surgical. Did you meet with Daniel Harris before filing? Hale said nothing. Did you verify his signature? Silence. Did you confirm the medical certificate with Dr. Samuel Price? Hale's hands trembled. I relied on my client's representations. That's not sufficient, Thomas said. And you know it. I turned to Ryan, the man I'd trusted with my daughter's life. My voice was steady, cold. You were going to erase me, declare me incompetent, take my home, lock me in a secured unit, and you used my daughter to do it. Ryan's jaw clenched. I did what I had to do. You don't understand the pressure I was under. Pressure? Emily's voice cracked through the room. Ryan, you threatened me. Emily, don't. No. She stepped forward, anger burning through her tears. Dad deserves the truth. She faced me, shaking, but resolute. Ryan said, if I didn't help sell your apartment, he and his mother would file for custody of Noah. They'd say I was unfit, depressed, mentally unstable. He said I'd lose my son. The words hit me like a blow. They used Noah to threaten you? Emily nodded, sobbing. I was terrified. I couldn't lose him. Dad, I thought you were just moving in with us. I didn't know about the nursing home. I thought I was protecting my child. I looked at her and finally understood. Not guilt, terror. Ryan ran a hand through his hair, cornered. My mother needed the money. $300,000, gambling debts, dangerous people. Your mother? I asked softly. Rebecca looked up. Janet Cole. Ryan nodded, drained of color. Rebecca handed her tablet to Thomas. He read, his expression darkening. Mr. Cole, Thomas said evenly, did you know your mother booked a one-way flight to Las Vegas? Departure tomorrow at 6:45 a.m. Ryan blinked. Why would she? Because she planned to take the money and disappear, Thomas said. She wasn't sharing it with you. She was leaving you to face the consequences. Rebecca pulled up another screen. Extended stay hotel in Las Vegas. No return flight. She looked at Ryan. Your mother wasn't coming back. Ryan's voice collapsed. She wouldn't do that. She needs me. She used you, Thomas said, the same way you used your wife. The silence was absolute. Ryan sank into Victor Hale's chair, face in his hands. Emily watched him, contempt mixed with exhaustion. I looked at my son-in-law and saw something I hadn't expected. Another victim, not innocent, never innocent, but used. 3 generations caught in the same web. Emily manipulated through fear of losing her son. Ryan manipulated through desperation and loyalty, and me nearly erased. All of this, I said quietly, for gambling debts and a one-way ticket. I looked at Rebecca. What happens now? She was already typing. Now I call the police. Ryan slumped, broken. Emily stood apart from him, crying softly. I stayed still, absorbing the truth as it settled like cold water. Ryan's voice was hollow. She told me the debt collectors would kill her. She showed me photos, bruises. Rebecca looked up. The debt is real. 300,000 confirmed. There's no evidence of physical threats. But the photos. People fake injuries, Rebecca said flatly. Makeup, prosthetics, staged images. Ryan's face drained again. She manipulated me from the start. The custody threat. That was her idea. Emily's voice shattered. You threatened to take my son because your mother told you to. Ryan couldn't look at her. I turned to my daughter. Why didn't you come to me? She sobbed harder. Ryan said you'd side with him, that you'd think I was overreacting, that you'd never believe me. My chest tightened. I would always protect you, I said softly. You and Noah, always. Emily collapsed into tears. I know that now. I'm so sorry, Dad. Rebecca's phone rang. She listened, nodded. Understood. She looked up. Police are on their way. This is a criminal case now. Ryan's head jerked up, panic flooding his face. Criminal. Thomas Reed's voice was cold and precise. Fraud, conspiracy to commit elder abuse, forgery of legal documents. Yes, Mr. Cole, criminal charges. Ryan turned to me, desperate. I never wanted to hurt you. You tried to erase me, I said, my voice level but hard. You used my daughter. You threatened my grandson. Whether you wanted to or not doesn't change what you did. Emily's voice cut through the room. We're done. You and I. Done. Ryan looked at her. You threatened Noah, she said, voice shaking but fierce. You made me betray my own father for a woman planning to abandon you. She drew a breath, voice hardened. We are done. She stepped deliberately away from Ryan and moved closer to me. My daughter had chosen sides, finally, after everything she had chosen. I reached out and squeezed her hand. She held on tight, crying, but didn't let go. The office door opened. Officer Williams, building security, stepped in. 38, solid build. The same guard who had seen us earlier in the hallway when Patricia brought buyers to my door. It felt like a lifetime ago. Ms. Walsh, Williams said, Officers Rodriguez and Harris are here. 2 uniformed officers entered. Rodriguez and Harris. Their presence shifted everything. This wasn't a legal consultation anymore. This was a crime scene. Officer Rodriguez looked at Ryan. You're Ryan Cole. Ryan stood unsteadily. Yes. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, conspiracy to commit elder abuse, forgery of legal documents, and abuse of process. Rodriguez pulled Ryan's arms behind his back. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Ryan didn't resist. The handcuffs clicked into place. Officer Harris turned to Rebecca. We're waiting on the warrant for Janet Cole. Her address? Ryan's voice came out hollow. She's not there. Check the airport. Harris spoke into his radio. I heard fragments. Suspect may be at airport. Vegas flight 6:45 departure. Rebecca stepped toward me. Mr. Harris, your home is secure. The guardianship petition will be dismissed. Dr. Price is under investigation. Mr. Hale will face state bar review. Hale's face went white. He said nothing. Thomas squeezed my shoulder. I'll handle all the legal steps, Daniel. Rodriguez turned to Emily. Ma'am, we need you to give a statement. You're not under arrest. Emily's voice shook. I signed the documents. I helped. Thomas cut her off. Under duress. Threats were made against your child. That is coercion, not conspiracy. Rebecca nodded. Ms. Cole, your cooperation in testifying will be noted. Emily nodded, tears on her face. Rodriguez began leading Ryan out. He stopped and turned back. Emily turned away. Ryan's eyes found mine. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything now. I said nothing. He searched for forgiveness, understanding. He wouldn't find either. The officers let him out. The door closed. Hale stood abruptly. I should contact my own attorney. Thomas's voice was cold. Yes, you should. Hale grabbed his briefcase and left, hurried down the hallway, running from consequences. Then it was just the four of us. Me, Emily, Rebecca, and Thomas. I stood slowly. For the first time today, I felt my 71 years pressing down, adrenaline fading, exhaustion setting in. I looked at my daughter. She stood small, broken, afraid, arms wrapped around herself, that defensive posture I'd seen all morning, but now I understood. She was waiting for my judgment, waiting to see if I'd forgive her, if I'd understand, if the damage could be repaired. This moment would define everything that came next, not just the legal aftermath, but whether we could rebuild what Ryan had nearly destroyed, whether the bond between father and daughter could survive. I looked at Emily. She looked back, terrified. Rebecca caught my eye and nodded toward the door. Thomas understood. We'll give you a few minutes, Rebecca said quietly. Emily and I stepped into the hallway. The door closed behind us. Silence. Dad, she whispered. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need you to know. I thought I was protecting Noah. I thought I had no choice. He threatened my son. I was so scared and so stupid. Stop. Emily froze, terrified. I pulled out my notebook, the one I'd been writing in this morning. I read slowly. I thought I'd lived enough years to understand love and loss and forgiveness, but I never learned how to teach my son that a home is not just a price to sell. I looked up. I wrote son, thinking about family, what we owe each other and what we don't. What do you mean you protected Noah? I paused. I understand that a mother's first duty is to her child, but you should have come to me. I would have fought for both of you. Instead, you fought alone and made terrible choices. I know, Dad. I'm so sorry. I love you. I always will. You're my daughter, Ruth's daughter. I held her gaze, but I can't have Ryan in my life anymore, and I can't trust you yet. Not the way I used to. Kristen nodded, breaking. Leave him, divorce him, protect Noah. Maybe we can rebuild slowly. I will. I'll leave him. Good. Noah needs his mother, and maybe someday his grandfather. I don't deserve that chance. Love isn't about deserving. It's about choice. I'm choosing to leave the door open. Walking through it is your choice, after you prove yourself. Kristen stepped forward and hugged me. I let her, but I didn't fully return it. Not yet. After a moment, I stepped back. Go home. Get Noah. Keep him safe. I will. Thank you. She left, looking back once. Hours later, I sat by the window where the day had begun, Ruth's photograph on the desk. I kept our home, I whispered to her picture, but I almost lost our daughter. A knock at the door. Dorothy Bennett stood there with a container of soup, made extra. You shouldn't be alone tonight. I smiled. Thank you, Dorothy. We sat together in comfortable silence. Outside, evening fell over Charlotte. Inside, Leonard Carter sat with a friend, still alive, still free, still himself. Tomorrow he'd wake and write, maybe about forgiveness, maybe about boundaries, maybe about the distance between love and trust. But tonight, he simply breathed. Looking back on everything, I realize how close I came to losing not just my home, but my dignity and freedom. Don't be like me. Don't wait until strangers are showing up at your door with buyers before you protect yourself. Don't assume family always has your best interests at heart. And don't let fear and pride stop you from asking for help when something feels wrong. Grandpa stories like mine aren't just about what happened to one old man in Charlotte. They're warnings, lessons passed down so you can recognize the signs before it's too late. Grandpa stories teach that vigilance and boundaries aren't mistrust. They're acts of self-preservation and love. Through it all, I thanked God 3 times. First, when Dorothy appeared in that hallway to warn me. Second, when Rebecca Walsh discovered the lock on my property in time. And third, when I saw my daughter finally choose truth over fear. God puts people in our path when we need them most. Sometimes they're investigators, sometimes they're neighbors with soup, Sometimes they're our own children finding their way back. If this story resonated with you, please leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss these lessons. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. You might save them from a similar fate. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Please note, upcoming stories may contain fictionalized elements for educational purposes. If this content isn't for you, feel free to explore other videos on our channel that better suit your preferences.